Adijo lepota misticiranih eterskih glaskov. Tu je drugačen, vizualen, striman, lušten, zaliman, v iber softi grš.
Intervju Radia Študent.
Cenjeno poslušalstvo, lep pozdrav iz etra Radia Študent in dobrodošli v zadnjem grš intervjuju letos. Na ta sončni 29. december gostimo angleško-avstralskega urednika, pisatelja ter audiovizualnega umetnika Wayna Austina Goodchilda. Na medmrežju je znan po pseudonimih Professional Hairdresser, Professional Shopper in Professional Corpse. Z njim pa smo se ta mesec že pogovarjali v sklopu oddaje Svaštarnica. Kot mojster samplanja, njegov opus predvsem zajema žanre kot so trip-hop, vaporwave, downbeat ter plunderphonics, v njem pa se osredotoča na ustvarjanje vzdušja s pomočjo nasičenih ritmov in podlag. Lepo zahvala RTVŠ ekipi, da nas snema in skrbi za vse ostale tehnikalije ter tudi tehniko Oliju. Intervju bom izvedel pa Grega. Seveda, tale intervju lahko spremljate na radiju, še zdaj poslušate, lahko ga pa spremljate tudi preko streama na YouTubeu. Povezavo do njega najdete pa tudi na spletni strani Radia Študent. Cool. That's it for the introduction.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you, do you speak any Slovenian?
Unfortunately, no. That's super basic.
It's like no big deal. I've heard it's a difficult language. So, you're a bit of a stranger to our... It's love, right?
Yes.
You're a bit of a stranger to our establishment.
Yeah.
So, how did you wind up here in Ljubljana and doing what you're doing right now?
Well, from my wife. My wife got a job here because I was living in Colombia before.
Colombia?
Before I was in Armenia, which is the coffee region, then in Bogota for a little bit.
Really?
And that's where my wife is from. And then she got a job here in Ljubljana, so that's why we're now in Slovenia. We've been here it'll be 3 years at the end of this next February.
So I thought before you were speaking about British Columbia or something like that.
Yes,
I couldn't associate you with Colombia, actually.
Because I'm from, of course, I'm evidently already from England originally, from the northeast, but I've lived in different places.
Yeah.
Lived in Australia when I was younger. I have dual nationality.
Oh, really? What a flex.
When I went back home in England for a long time, moved back to Australia 10 years ago, so I left England 10 years ago. Australia for a little bit, then Colombia. I was there for about 5 years, and now here.
All right. So in the introduction, I mentioned a bunch of your professions, which I googled off of LinkedIn, and I noticed you're also a writer.
Yes.
And you've released a book called A Wretched Place,
Yes.
which maybe goes best in line with your alias Professional Corpse. It's more dark.
Yeah, it's a lot darker.
And so was this project a result of all your editing experience or have you been writing for a while?
I've been writing for a long time. Because I self-published the novel A Wretched Place last year. But 10 years ago, up until from about 2009 to about 2014, I was been professionally published. I've had over 30 short stories on at the time, because a lot of them don't exist anymore, unfortunately, decent websites, some anthologies, print anthologies from unfortunately now defunct small presses in the US, an Australian one called Severed Press that is still going, did some of my stuff. But I never released a novel because I was sending stuff out, but just not having any luck in terms of a lot of publishers yes, we like this, send us the full book, send them full book, we really like the full thing, it's really good, blah, 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 so that's nice for my ego. Yeah. But then we can't do anything with it. There's basically no market for it. It's too weird.
That's a weird thing to hear nowadays. So, there's basically a market for everything. Yeah, right?
Exactly. So, but I knew that when I just going back a little bit, back in 2006, I made an effort to write an actual novel, just a different one, and I sent it off to a publisher, And the first person I sent it to sent me back a really nice letter, because it was still back before email was used all the time, which I've now, framed at home. And it's basically saying this is a really good book. We like this novel. It's really interesting. We want to do something with it. And I had about, 6 months of a back and forth of that editor saying basically everyone here likes your book except like the boss. So we're not going to publish it because again there's no market. So back then I discovered that, well, it's a business, so if there isn't a market for something, then it doesn't matter if something is technically very good or whatever, then if whoever it is feels they can't sell it, then so I've been used to that for a while now, and that's kind of why like for the music stuff, like, because self-publishing for writing always, I think for a lot of writers and people in the industry, it's not quite a dirty word, but it's something it's because anyone can do it. So where's the quality control? Whereas with music, because, with Bandcamp and all the rest of it, it's super easy to self-publish, and it's not a big deal because it's, well, I don't know, maybe it's because it's more immediate. Like you like this music or you don't. And because I've been doing it with music for a long time, self-publishing, I thought, well, I'll do it with my writing, and just to do it, to see how the process is. So formatting, doing the cover design myself, all of it, so I could learn how that side of the industry works. So it was just, that was just something else to do. And so I've been writing like professionally, if you like, since 2009.
So this word professional comes in a lot with your aliases. Is that like intentional? Why did you choose the word professional in every alias?
Because professional hairdresser is the main like project I'm doing at the moment, and it's purely because quite often I listen to a type of music and I'll be like, I like that, I wonder if I can write it. So I like this kind of, and the music I do as professional hairdresser is barber beats. So it's basically, like you mentioned in the intro, like related to, it's like down-tempo vaporwave stuff. But whereas vaporwave tends to focus on like the 80s.
That's what I wanted to mention. Sometimes you include like sax lines from like saxophones, but it's not like synth-based like 80s music usually is, right? Yeah,
exactly. It's like I prefer to use, with the professional hairdresser, it kind of varies a little bit, but generally I prefer to sample like an actual saxophone from another song, for example. So it's all stuff a lot it's from the 90s, some of it's a little more contemporary, but it's old kind of down tempo chill stuff from a long time ago. It's maybe forgotten artists, like some of it's drum and bass from the 90s, but it's like slowed down. But because it's barber beats, I was like, well, why is no one making music as barber beats called professional hairdresser? That seems so obvious to me, and I checked and no one was, so I was like, I'll do it. So that's why. And then because it's technically a side project, because my main music is Cardboard Dead Boy, which is more industrial. So with the professional hairdresser and the offshoots from that, I was like, well, because it's the plunderphonics thing, because it's, professional hairdresser is 100% recycled. Every song is made from other songs. I don't add anything of myself to it, like that I've programmed or whatever. It's just played. It's from this song, from this song, from this song. So the professional corpse is partly, it's 50% like recycled. Like I might take a bit of drums and the bass lines, the vocals are from like death metal songs and stuff. And the professional shopper that you guys were kind enough to play like a week or two ago is similar too. That's like all from different sources. So if it's, I thought, well, professional whatever can then equal basically plunderphonic. So if you're listening to something by me that's professional, then it's going to be like heavily sampled from somewhere else.
All right, and what do I want to ask? I forgot what I wanted to ask. But your body of work has been rapidly expanding this year, through this alias of professional various. What sort of triggered this?
Just personal challenge, to be honest. So like I say, it stemmed from initially, I like listening to barber beats and vaporwave and related music. So I started looking more into the production side, what do they actually do? How do they actually make the songs? How can I do it so I'm not just copying them or being lazy with it? And it was, and because it's a fun process, and I found it to be quite a quick process, like just taking the bits from these songs and change them and whatnot. So I just challenged myself to, can I do an album every month? So that was what it was. So, and that's largely what I've managed to stick to.
So you said in our interview earlier this month that you use Fruity Loops mainly.
Yes.
And has this like integration of AI stemming in Fruity Loops that's now embedded, has this made it easier for you, or do you use, have you always done it like this, that you separated songs into stems and then combined them?
Yeah, with the professional stuff, like, because before I would just take, like with other projects I do, like the Cardboard Dead Boy stuff, I would take literally the section of song, whether it's like drums and guitar too, then I would just take that entire chunk from the actual full song. But yeah, with stuff like FL Studio, and like there's plenty of free tools online where you can separate a song into the stems. When I discovered how prevalent that technology is now, and how, for example, FL Studio has a built-in stem separator that's pretty good, then it allowed me to get deeper into it. And if you like more granular, so I think I mentioned before, I can't remember that, like taking because I think AI in the AI tools in that regard are useful because they serve a very specific purpose taking it, and whether it's through the technology or something in the existing song, you might take the drums, and then if you separate the bass from just the drums, then you can get some extra sounds out of that may technically not be part of the original song, but it's like just an artifact that is interesting
because they're masked
to use.
Usually, and the whole collage of everything. Yeah, great. And so, as you said, a large majority of your work as a professional hairdresser is recycled, as you put it yourself. And I was just wondering, I recognize a few names. You list every song and artist you recycle.
Yeah.
And I recognize a few names, but many of them are what we would call rather obscure.
Yeah.
And my question is, do you delve into these artists on a deeper level, or do you just randomly find stuff that you recycle?
It's honestly a bit of both, because some of it is stuff that some of it will be bands or songs that I personally really like and have wanted to use in some way for a long time.
For example?
Pigface, one of my favourite bands is Pigface. And they have a song called Utopia that, I like a lot of their songs, but Utopia is a very good song, and so I was able to use like the drums and some of the vocals for that in professional hairdresser stuff. Sometimes it will be, I'll go down a rabbit hole on YouTube, for example. Like I follow certain channels where they upload like vinyl from the 1970s. And it might be a band that only released one album, but maybe someone in the band became famous for something else, and this is their forgotten band. So, and I'll listen to that, and then maybe I'll go from that, who produced it? Oh, they produced this, and I'll listen to that album, and I jump around, and just until something grabs me. So it could be like a jazz band, like I sampled a jazz band from Australia that was going, I think, in the 70s, but they're now going again, called the Necks, stuff like that. So it's stuff that I might not have heard of before, but I don't just... Basically, when I find something that is like obscure, perhaps even to me, I'll dive deeper into them. So it's not a surface level, oh, I like that song, I'll use it. It's like, what else did they do? Are they famous for anything else or whatever?
Yeah. Okay, great. Because it takes skill, and I don't know, I think also courage and sort of a curiosity to go on this like music exploring journey yourself. Not many people do this, or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I agree, because I often say, and I was talking to a friend last night, that how about like an open mind is a healthy mind, like in many aspects. And I think especially for music that, fair enough if you're the kind of person that only likes listening to, I don't know, blues, let's say, and that's all you want to listen to, then there's nothing wrong with that. But there is so much music out there. There's so much interesting music out there that might be, I don't know, maybe listen to any blues and flipping, I don't know, industrial techno. You're like, how do those work together? I don't know how it does, but it sounds amazing. And if you just gave it a chance, there's just so much to explore and discover out there that it is a little sad if people don't make that little extra effort.
Yeah, it's strange that in today's world we have like music curators, and I think that's kind of dystopian to have like music chosen in advance for you. It's really weird. It's the whole concept. And I also heard that Spotify actually fired a bunch of their curators because they were going off the grid too much. Because Spotify, of course, has an agenda with what they want to be playing on their platform. All right, and the sound is pretty much consistent through your albums as Professional Hairdresser. So as we mentioned, it's usually something downbeat, really like rhythm heavy, not much, really saturated, not much room to breathe. You know, it's not heavy. It's just really, I don't know, atmospheric, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this is with the exception of the Faceless Terror, right? The
Professional Corpse album.
Yeah, Professional Corpse.
Yeah.
And that one really stands out to me. So was this like the creation of an album every month, like a journey where you try to reflect your mood that month, or how did this Professional Corpse? Again,
because I listen, I listen to a lot of. I don't really like metal itself, but I like it if it's mixed with something else, or if it has like like a real strong atmosphere. So I listen to a lot of depressive, suicidal black metal, and a lot of that stuff borders on ambient, but it's just with harsh vocals. So I find it really interesting. So that was another one where I was like, well, can I write that? Not how easy, but how from a production standpoint, how easy is it to write that kind of music? Because it is, you have to be you have to be in a dark mood. I mean, I'm always happy, but it's fun for me to make dark music. So it was just like I wanted, because some of the Professional Hairdresser stuff gets noisy, like but only for little bits, and it's like, because I didn't want to do too much repetition of other projects in Professional Hairdresser, and I have a bunch of other like metal and rock related and harder edged stuff, so, and none of those would really fit like the kind of black metal kind of context, I guess. So I thought, well, maybe I can do black metal plunderphonics. So I started doing the same thing of picking songs, making them to a new one, but it felt a little boring. So I decided to add my own drums and my own guitar to them. So it's not full plunderphonics. It's like maybe the bass lines in all the songs are from other songs, the vocals are all from other songs, and then there's like synths, keyboards, like some other guitar bits are from other like black metal and related genre songs. Just again for another challenge to do that I really enjoy doing.
And are you self-taught as a musician?
Yes, yeah. I've never had any like official lessons. I started doing music when I was probably about 15. When I like there's a friend of mine that I've not seen for a long time now, because this was when I was 15, called Ian Black. And so me and all my friends were into like Megadeth and Slayer and AC/DC and all this kind of stuff, but I was always the one that would listen to local radio or national, like BBC Radio 1, to their rock show to see because they'd play like industrial stuff and all the rest of it. So I was always the one more into different kinds of music, and Ian was into like a lot of synth stuff. So I'd go to his house, and we didn't know anything about. We didn't even know what the names of the keys were. We just numbered them.
The Beatles.
So, and we wrote like really bad, like not even kind of almost like punk songs, but just on an old like 70s synthesizer and like a Casio keyboard. We did like a few songs like that, and then just as I got older and went to college and stuff and got hold of like my best friend, his older brother sold me his guitar and like his really good effects board, so then I just started like just literally hammering stuff out. And just went from there. Like my friends told me, if you tune to drop D, you can just play with one finger and one string, and like that does me. So that's what I did for ages, and just experimented and had keyboards, and I got a sampler, and I got more into that side of things, and it just kind of went from then. It's always stuff that, yeah, I've had friends along the way that have taught me, for example, if you play this way, this is a particular note or chord, you know, different scales. So I've learned, and I've actively learned more stuff like music theory as I've gone along.
Yeah.
But I've never had proper lessons. It's just stuff that I've largely taught myself.
It's interesting to see the process of learning an instrument by yourself in the good old days and nowadays, when you have like an abundance of material you can learn from YouTube and stuff. And I don't know, sometimes people get overwhelmed, especially when they see like really good talented musicians, how well they can play, and a lot of people, I think, give up on just, like you said, jamming and hammering stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're concerned with all the works they've heard before, and they want to play like that. But yeah,
I think music should always be an expression. Like, and I think if you are too rigid about, I mean, obviously some people, if they're like, I don't know, a classically trained violin player, then that's like a different thing. But if you're into alternative music, let's say, just to be broad, then it should be about experimenting. It should be just like, for example, punk bands and stuff, you know, like Crass from the 70s. They didn't know how to play instruments, but they wanted to do a band, so they just started a band and just literally learned as they went along. And a lot of bands are like that. And of course, you have all the noise related stuff, like of course Sonic Youth, when they started, they were extremely noisy and like just absolutely chaotic and wonderful. And of course now they're all very well-known musicians and they know exactly what they're doing. But stuff like that, it's like people need to take a chance, and if they enjoy doing it, it doesn't really matter if it sounds bad. You know, it's like, as long as you enjoy it, then I think that comes across in the performance or what have you.
Okay, at this point, I would suggest a quick recess, and we would listen to the song Professional Corpse. What's the title?
The Prophecy is Being Fulfilled.
The last song on the album,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
We're gonna roll that song, and then we'll talk to you in about 7 minutes.
Okay.
They're coming here. They're waiting at the edge of the city. They're peering around buildings at night. And they're waiting. They're waiting for you. And they'll take you one by one, and no one will hear you scream. No one will hear you scream!
town was on the beach. They built their fires, not for warmth, but as beacons to be seen from the black ocean. And following their prophecy, the moon turned blood red, and the dark stranger returned.
Lepo pozdravljeni nazaj v GRŠ intervjuju. We are joined by Wayne Austin Goodchild, also known as Professional Hairdresser, Professional Corpse, and Professional Shopper since recently. And when you produce, you're known as?
As myself or Cardboard Dead Boy, because that's like
Cardboard
the main
Dead
project
Boy.
I've had for, gosh, like 20 years.
Mm-hmm. All right. So do you like take commissions for this production side of yourself?
Technically, yeah, I haven't got any, but I do. So if people want to, because as I was just saying to you during that song there, I'm always up for collaborating. whether it's of other musicians, like to do music or to produce their stuff. Like if someone's mixed and recorded their music and they need it like polishing off and they want, I don't know, big drums or what have you, then I can do stuff like that. So I take commissions. Like it's something that I've slowly but surely been trying to build up in the background for the last year or so. Like that's partly why I have so many projects myself and try different genres. It's so that I'm building my own portfolio. So I can go, if you want flipping, like death metal, then here's some death metal I've done. If you want industrial techno, here's some industrial techno I've done. So so it's just if people are listening and they
I was gonna like ask you to kind of steer people. What kind of people should seek?
And literally anyone that's interested in collaborating. So it could be, like I said, through writing music together. For remixes, I've done a lot of remixes over the years. Sometimes for fun, sometimes because I've actually been asked to do that, which is always nice. If they want stuff producing, because I don't have the means to record anyone myself, because that's beyond my budget. But if people have recorded music and they don't know how to mix it, or they can't get it mixed properly or whatever, then I can do stuff like that. So, and it's basically pretty much any genre of music, to be honest, because like I say, I like to test myself, learn stuff, but especially on the heavier spectrum, let's say.
And if they don't know how to achieve a sound, they can also seek
I can
advice from you.
Yeah, because I'm not like professionally trained in any of this stuff. It's just stuff I've learned over about 25 years that I've been doing it. So they might go to someone who's like, you should EQ this and do this particular hertz and use all the right language, but I'm more kind of, does it sound good? Does it sound how you want? And who cares if it's not the correct way to do it? If it works, then that's what matters the most.
I think it carries just as much merit as, like experience carries just as much merit as someone who's professionally trained in doing this stuff does. And this jack of all trades character kind of expands beyond music as well, because you design the graphic kind of
the covers of
yourself.
Because that's something I've always had an interest in too, is because again that's stuff I've learned myself, partly from studying. Like for example the Professional Hairdresser stuff particularly, I was looking at how a lot of other Barber Beats artists do, a lot of them fall into this category that I discovered is known as acid graphics, where it's basically, there's no clear, how can I say this, like structure or design rules. It's more like just throw everything at it, like this particular font and like 90s computer graphics and all this kind of stuff. So it's hard to replicate because it's not like you can just look at look at an album and go, okay, they all look like this, because they all look quite different. But some of them use like imagery of like Greek statues, for example. A lot of them
that's especially prevalent in vaporwave.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. A lot of them use very bold colors or limited colors. A lot of them use like Japanese text, for example, because that's just like part of the aesthetic.
It just looks cool.
So it just looks cool. I mean, sometimes something just needs to look cool. I think that's has plenty of merit itself. It's like if people look at something and it makes them want to, in this case, listen to the music, because I do like, I mean, it's very true, the whole judge a book by its cover. Like of course the same with albums. Like you might look at an album and go, that's probably crap because the artwork's terrible, or it just not appealing. Doesn't appeal. But then likewise you might do something where the music does not sound at all like the cover, but sometimes that's like, well, why has it got a flipping dragon on the cover and it's like ambient, but sometimes it works the other way where people like, normally I wouldn't listen to this, I thought it was going to be, I don't know, dungeon synth, and I'm listening to like dark ambient, and I really like it. So maybe they then go on their own like self-discovery thing of other related artists.
It sort of falls into this endlessly expanding pit of clickbaiting we've all fallen into, right? At some
Yeah.
point, this is like clickbaiting used to be something, that was regarded as kind of
Yeah, a little
what's
dubious.
the word? Yeah. And now it's kind of become the standard. You need to clickbait if you want to compete.
Yeah,
Basically,
it's
right?
all content, isn't it? It's like get everyone to
Yeah.
pay attention to your content, which, to be quite frank, is just it's exhausting. The fact that now when you do, like for example, on social media, Instagram, TikTok, all that, you're expected to be a content creator. Like the whole aspect of the social aspect of it sometimes feels like it's kind of slipped by the wayside. 'Cause it's not so much about communicating with other people and meeting new people. It's more like pay attention to me, which is it's a bit like, I don't really like that too much, to be honest.
And you also use imagery from different comics. And
Yes.
I think also manga, like anime and stuff.
Yeah, it's
Is
it's the whole plunderphonics aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a musical term, but it relates to the art side of it too, because so then it's like the thematic depth of, I'm not just taking the music from existing sources and repurposing, recycling it. It's the artwork too. So I found, like, for example, a bunch of, like, again, forgotten horror comics from like the 1970s that had a lot of, like, afterwards, like in the 90s, for example, very well-known artists, like fantasy artists, even other comic artists. But this is where they started. And I discovered this kind of stuff. Again, just digging through the internet and just been thorough, very thorough in my digging.
And why do you think this aesthetic of why do you think these two things go together, like obscure or early comics and this kind of music? What's the connection? Because it fits.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know if it's just being conditioned into us
Yeah.
that this kind of music, like as you said, vaporwave needs Greek
Yeah.
statues. Why? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think some of it is because, what's his name? Was it Windows 98 or someone
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
The guy that technically started it. Like, it's, and like Macro Blank is another well-known one, who they do these styles that basically people like. So I think it's natural for people to ape it to some degree. And then in terms of, for example, like the obscure comics, that kind of thing, it's again the whole theme of taking something that's forgotten, taking something people might not know about, and again, not just reusing it, but also bringing it to light. Because I'm a big fan of, like, ephemera. So stuff that technically only existed once, and then it's gone forever. But because of the internet, and because of, dedicated people, they have, I don't know, like a public service announcement that was aired once in 1969, and they have a video of it, and they're the only person on the planet that still has a copy. And that kind of stuff fascinates me, of like media, like forgotten media, that maybe it's very dated, maybe it's got the wrong information now, but usually there's something interesting about it. So that kind of stuff always fascinates me.
I also find the 80s Japanese kind of city pop aesthetic, maybe it's even borders on 70s, but I don't know, it's sort of comforting, it's cozy, we like those colors, as you said. I don't know what's, like, there's definitely some psychological explanation behind it, but I found many similar artists like you that use art similar as you do.
Yeah.
But yours is more orange, right? You use a lot of orange.
I just thought I wanted to use limited colours, so mostly orange, black and white, sometimes a bit of monochrome, just like a bit of grey and that, just to stand out. And also it's, again, I don't want to start sounding pretentious, but I'm challenging myself, but because I have, everyone has favourite colours, and I also didn't want to start using the same kind of colour schemes and things as I do for other projects and for the artwork for them. So I wanted to make something that was visually distinctive from my own stuff, but also from other artists doing a similar kind of music. So, I mean, obviously orange isn't like a trademark colour or anything, but I noticed not many people were really using it. So well, I'll use orange. Orange is a a bold color.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to wear orange.
Yeah.
And how did you get entangled with the genres you're most entangled with today?
Just personal taste. So when because like I said, the main music I write is industrial, or most of the stuff I do is industrial or jazz in some way. It's those two things, like my favourites, at least, to work into music. And it was from, like, I'll try and keep it brief. So when I was at school, my best friend, he was lending me some like AC/DC and stuff like that, because I watched a Stephen King film, Maximum Overdrive, and the entire soundtrack is by AC/DC. And he's like, oh, I really like the music, and that's by AC/DC, here's the album, here's some similar music like Megadeth, Slayer. I said, I really like Slayer. He's like, well, if you like the heavier stuff, then try this. And then a girl in my class who lived across the road just came over one day and was like, Father, my best mate, Father was telling me that he's been lending you some music, so here's basically a big bag of tapes, like Faith No More, Biohazard, all sorts of stuff. And then, because BBC Radio 1 back then, like in the 90s, mid-90s, was a lot more alternative. Like during the day, it was a lot more alternative. In the evenings, they would play a lot more alternative rock, electronic stuff, all kinds of things. So I would listen to the radio every night just for literally to hear new stuff. Like sometimes it was like weird Japanese stuff. It might be like some like solo American singer-songwriter, but she's using like really old equipment to write her music, for example. And it just went from there. And I'd listen to the rock show and make tapes of all the songs I liked, and I'd take that to college. So my friends would like listen to like my best of like mixtapes from the night before, and it just went from there. And I just discovered like bands like White Zombie, and my friends like, they're industrial, so maybe you'll like this band. And then I did, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, I feel the process, of course you start with pop, everyone starts with pop, and it's sometimes weird that people not deny, but they claim they're wholly alternative.
Yeah.
Now, of course you start with pop, and then you kind of peel back the layers and see how actually this, like the most mainstream, widespread bands came to be, and then you, like you said, you go on a journey and find more niche and specific stuff, right?
I mean, it used to be, I don't know if it's still this way now, but at least back then it was easier, because if you liked something and it was on a record label, then you could listen to something else on the same record label, and it would be in some way related, maybe even the same genre of music. And then maybe, that drummer is also in this band, so let's listen to them. They're a different type of music, but they're still, like a type of metal, for example, and so on and so on.
Okay, and your songs also, I always like to ask this, they feature film samples.
Yes.
Right, because you don't usually include vocals of your own. I mean, who were the vocals from on your Professional Corpse?
Those are from an existing song. I can't remember which song I took them from. I can't remember which song, because I used 5 songs to make that one. But yeah, because I don't have the means to record my own vocals, but I used to do that in live bands. I did harsh vocals, like that was the kind of thing that maybe I can still do it, but
no
I'd be
microphone
rusty.
can handle you, right?
Yeah. So because I'd love to record myself like that, for example, but I don't have the means right now. So yeah, I use the vocals come from existing songs, the film samples. Like I cheated a little bit with Professional Corpse, because with the Professional Hairdresser I set myself the additional challenge of only taking film or voice, or TV, whatever, samples from other songs. So everything has that kind of source. But I cheated with Professional Corpse because I figured, well, if I'm adding my own drums and guitar, then I'll add, because I've got a huge library of film samples, for myself. So I thought I'll just use some of that. So like that one that you played, I sampled, I think it's from 1974 horror film called Messiah of Evil, which is very cool. If people should watch it. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of cheap and bad horror movies over the recent years, so people tend to sleep on the older ones because they think, oh, there's not so much special effects or CGI, whatever, but they're still good because it's more of a focus on the story, I guess, and the whole tension building.
Absolutely, because Messiah of Evil, like it didn't do very well when it came out, but it's since gained a cult following, so to speak, because it focuses on the atmosphere, on the and it's a film that's filled with also liminal spaces, so these places that are in between other places, and it has that whole kind of vibe to it, and it's a really interesting film that I urge people to check out.
So you include like movies that are your personal favorites?
I rarely use. In fact, I don't think I ever, in my own, normally, if I'm adding it myself, I don't think I ever add anything from something that I haven't watched myself or don't own myself, because usually there's some extra context there. It's like if it's, like for example with that one, like the samples from Messiah of Evil are about basically a prophecy, so that's the name of, that's why the song's called The Prophecy Has Been Fulfilled, so it makes sense in that context too.
And you also hide like pieces of yourself into song titles. They're kind of cheeky in some way, right? Some of them are, making fun of you when you read them, or they're just like really personalized titles. Do you pay like a lot of attention to that? Yeah,
that's something that I've always tried to make a point of. Like for example, some of my projects like Cowboy Dead Boy, it's more pronounced. Like it's more self-referential, but I do it with Professional Hairdresser and Professional Corpse too, just because that's fun to me. It's like it doesn't all need to be super serious kind of stuff. Like you can, because music should be fun, and if you can, because I know for me, if I'm looking at, I'll listen to a song if the song title's like funny or interesting. I go, why have they called it that? That's weird, and then I'll listen to it. And it might be good, it might be bad, but that grabs me, so I figure it could grab other people if I do a similar thing.
Yeah, I smiled with some of the titles. They're nice. The most recent project you released was made entirely with AI tools, right?
Yes.
So the AI basically wrote songs according to your prompt, and then you then I tore them apart and rebuilt them, because I'm reluctant to personally. I think AI, a lot of these AI tools, like for music and art generation, aren't really tools because we don't have a proper use for them yet. There isn't, and by that I mean they're not like regulated. Maybe I can say it that way, because a lot of them, of course, we don't know where the source material comes from, other than it's been ripped off. There's been a bunch of copyright issues with companies.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff obviously it's very dubious on that level. So what I did was so that, for example, there's a company called Output, and they do a lot of like music software, like effects, plugins and this kind of stuff, and they have an AI co-producer, I think it's called, and basically you can it's free, and you can type in on the website or wherever it is basically what you want. Like it could be like doom guitar in C minor, and it will generate like 4 sample packs for free of that and related kind of loops. But that one is interesting because it's from their actual sample library. So it's not taking it from songs, it's from stuff they've created themselves, and it's been repackaged. So I thought that was an interesting way to do it. And like with some of these AI music software, like I'm really impressed actually by how fast it's progressing, because I don't know, 6 months ago you could do stuff with vocals and it would sound like garbage, but now like it sounds like a real person. It's like really uncanny. So I wanted to just experiment, and basically instead of being, I'm going to just generate a song and use it, because I do think some people have been doing that in the genre that I work in the barber beat stuff. It seems, I know people have used AI and like for their projects, and I suspect it sounds like, I think they've probably used it as is. Maybe not, but it sounds a bit like that to me for some of it. That's lazy. And I thought there's no fun in that. Like, I would feel bad in myself if I did that kind of thing. I just don't see the point.
Yeah.
So I viewed it more as this co-producer thing of I'm generating the samples for myself. So I'll like generate a flipping, I don't know, down-tempo synthwave song with a saxophone solo. And if the saxophone sounds like a real one, because it probably is, you know, come from somewhere, then I'll take that, you know, and that kind of thing. But as I said on the website for it, like, I'm not doing it again. It was just an experiment, just to see if I could do it and if it was fun for me to do, which it was. But I do prefer using proper existing songs.
Do you think the reaction we're seeing right now with kind of exposing AI elements in songs is the same that happened, like, I don't know, what it was 20 or 30 years ago when auto-tune was exposed? Do you think it's kind of in a similar vein?
I think that's an interesting point, actually, because when that happened, everyone was like, they're not really singing, it's like they've been helped or whatever. And it's like, I think because if I listen to something and I found out that, like, because, well, I have done, like, I've listened, like, for example, I can't remember who it is, but there's someone I follow on YouTube, and they basically generate AI music and then they repackage it as lost music from, you know, the 70s or whatever. It's dishonest because they didn't make it clear until a few commenters were like, hang on a minute, this sounds like AI or blah blah blah. So that is, I think it's dishonest like that. I think if you're listening to something and you find out, that no human being was involved in this, like actively involved, then it's very dishonest, and I think people are against that. Not just me, obviously. But I think if people are up front and they're like, I used the AI voice software to do the vocals, you know, because I'm a terrible singer and I wanted a female singer and I don't know any female singers. Then,
out of necessity.
Yeah, necessity. But then again, from that there's so many websites, you know, and stuff where you can find other musicians. So you can just, you know, maybe not be quite so lazy and just search a little bit harder for what you want.
All right. And are we looking forward to any more releases this year? It's the 29th.
Yeah, I was hoping to have another album done by the end of this month, but I still need to do another couple of songs for it. But it's going to be a Professional Hairdresser one. It's called This Album is Haunted.
And it's like the page you have.
Yes,
The sentence is haunted.
Yeah.
Right.
And the focus. So I like to pick different genres, or like with the last proper Professional Hairdresser one where I used existing songs. I took a lot of stuff from the Berlin School of Electronics from the 1970s and 80s, a lot of artists from that. So there's a lot of like cool synth stuff. And this time I've focused on like post-punk and goth and related music to that for this album. So there's stuff like obvious stuff like The Cure, and other things like a Norwegian guy called like Turge Rypkal or something weird like that, who is well known apparently for doing film scores, but his own stuff from the 60s was really experimental, like jazz, like dark jazz, because dark jazz too is a really interesting type of music. So that's what I've focused on for this new one that, I don't know, in a week or two will probably be ready.
So you're sticking to more ambience and like exploring ambient.
Yeah, like a darker, more kind of laid back stuff, more, because I'm probably going to do I want to do an album that's really upbeat, like a lot more, because some of the stuff I do is breakbeat. So I want to do an album that's made entirely from 90s breakbeat, big beat type of musicians, because that will be fun, you know. But yeah, for now I'm going to stick with real doomy, dark, downbeat stuff.
I like your reasoning behind your project. You just say it because it's fun.
Yes.
That's really all it boils down to, I think. I mean, of course, there's other stuff too, but primarily that's what motivates you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not about proving yourself to...
No, exactly. I always figure if you are really into something, then there's bound to be at least one other person on the planet who's into what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's the book you wrote or the music or a painting you've done. So it's not a case of am I good enough? It's like are you happy with it? If you are, then that's what matters. And then someone, it might take, I don't know, 5 years, it might take 50, but someone's going to come along and go, God, this is amazing. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And then it might be too late for you, but the point is you've still made an impact.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Okay.
Would you like anything to add?
No, just a shameless self-promotion of, I'm on Instagram as This Music Is Haunted. It's professionalhairdresser.bandcamp.com. They're the two main.
We'll link stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. But and if people want to get in touch with me to collaborate in some way, then I'm completely open to that. So please, I'd love to hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
If you agree, we can play the Cardboard Dead Boy song also that you included.
Oh, okay, yeah,
for
sure.
the end, and then we wrap things up.
Okay, because that was released on a split EP in June or July with an American chap called Dirt Chamber, through an English label called Acid Bath that does this kind of harder industrial stuff. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, Oli, can we wrap things up with that? Great. Okay, hvala vsem, drago poslušalstvo, ker ste se pridružili današnjem GRŠ intervjuju. Posebno zahvala RTV ekipi, ki je skrbela za sliko in za stream, Oliju za tehniciranje. Se slišimo naslednje leto, z vami sem bil pa Grega. Čau.
Yeah, people scream evil like a motherfucker, unless it's their own. Then it's cool.